Whoa, what's going on?
That was kind of hype.
Right? It's funny having a countdown timer leading into episode 142 of Mirrorless Minutes. Kind of got the heart racing a little bit. It's like, oh man, it's showtime. Holy cow. So here we are again, episode 142. Jerry co-piloting this week, as you will see henceforth on the show. Should be an interesting show. In the past, we've kind of hit on the subject of doing Urbex photography, but I think we're going to get maybe a little more in depth on some of the experiences we've had, how to go about finding places, things that you could expect, how to be prepared for the things you're not expecting, and just how to shoot, like what gear to bring and how to set up for shots. So, Hey, welcome on again, Jerry. How's it going, man?
Going good, man. Going good. Long time no see.
Right. It's been
3 days.
It's been a little
4 days. Right.
So, as Jerry alluded to, we were shooting together about 3 days ago in Detroit, and we had a great time shooting Urbex there. A little bit of Urbex, one spot in particular. And, after we got back and we're going through our images, and you know how it is, you get all hyped up.
It's fun, man.
Oh, dude, total blast for sure.
So tell me, what was your favorite part of the Fisher plant?
Honestly, I think it was just how dicey it was to get to the staircase. It's
that's what I was gonna say too.
For sure. I mean, think about it. So, like the last time I was there, and it had been a couple of years. Last time I was there, you just walked through a doorway and went up the stairs. What did we have to do to get up the stairs, Jerry?
We had to climb through an elevator shaft that the lift was missing, so they piled garbage in the bottom of it. We had to cross 2x4s to get to the back of it, and then they busted a hole in the wall, so we had to climb through a hole in the wall, and in pitch black.
Pitch black.
It was fun, man. It was fun.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so look we're not talking about gear and requirements and things like that yet, but I'm gonna bring it up right now. Get something like this. Get a headlamp.
For sure.
We weren't like super prepared. I mean, we had our phones with us, a flashlight built into a phone, but sometimes you need two hands, like in the case of what we're just talking about. We had to traverse this. It's basically like the ground level of a freight elevator. So it's, big, like 20 foot by 20 foot opening. You had to go down into it, climb over garbage and junk and just stuff. And then on the back side of it, there was a wooden pallet. You had to climb up the pallet, and the pallet was leaned up against the wall. And like Jerry said, it was a brick wall, and that was where the staircase used to be. They bricked in the opening, and somebody had busted out an opening just big enough to get through. So you had to stand on this pallet, swing a leg over, and when you swing a leg over into it, you're going into pitch black.
Yeah.
Pitch black. And it's, it's great. So
that's what makes it fun, man.
For sure. I wish
that's the adventure. That's the adventure right there.
It definitely is. And I wish Instagram kept people's stories up longer. I think maybe when Jerry and I go out, we'll discuss this more, but maybe we'll start making like highlights so you can go back and see those, because it's hilarious. We're leaving the Fisher body plant after having been all the way up to the roof. And there's a point where you get, the top few floors, there's enough light coming in to where you can kind of see in the stairs pretty good. We got down to like the second floor, down into the first, and I hear Jerry, just like, oh shit, it is like black. It's pitch black. You can't see your hand in front of your face, and everybody's just kind of scrambling to get their phones out and turn them on.
I accidentally put my my headlamp away when we were on the roof, and then I never took it back out. I forgot we were going back through there, man, and that was a mistake, dude.
For sure. So in case you can't tell, that's probably what Jerry and I are going to be sharing tonight as far as photos go, is just things from this trip. So I guess we could probably just jump into, let's explain. No.
Oh, let's do your photo shoot first. Did you queue up your photos for that?
I've got that. So we could do that. I'll save it for when we start doing like all the photos.
The photo save? Okay.
Yeah. Let's just talk about like what Urbex is for people who might not know. We might have people watching that are wondering what in the world this term Urbex means.
Urban exploration.
Exactly. So I like to tell people this way. So I gave a presentation one time and I was talking about Urbex to people that had never heard the term before. And I said it is urban exploration. That's what it's short for. And I said, think about this. Everything's been discovered. Everything's been seen, and it's so hard to find, these places where you can go where you feel like maybe nobody's seen it, or you're seeing things that haven't been seen in a long time and maybe forgotten. And that is kind of my draw for Urbex, is to go to these places that have just been discarded. And, Jerry and I both have plenty of experience in not just Urbex, but doing it in rural locations. So I started throwing out the word Rurex like 6-7 years ago.
Right.
And I think it landed out there somewhere on the internet, because you can actually search the hashtag Rurex, Rurex, and find the same thing that Jerry and I do, which is, traveling the countryside looking for abandoned farmhouses, abandoned one-room schoolhouses, things like that.
Mills. Remember we went in that mill?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Oh.
It's a martini night. We're celebrating our maiden voyage together here. So, and if Brian Bright happens to be watching, I know Brian was sipping on a martini in the UP earlier. So, hats off to you, sir. So back into the Urbex topic. So again, urban exploration. There are tons of forums, tons of groups, Flickr groups, Instagram hub accounts, you name it. There are a million resources online where you can see the work. The trick might be to finding those places to go.
Right.
It's like a lot of other things in photography. People will find these locations, and some people will be super guarded and not want to tell you,
not want to share. Yeah,
exactly. And they've got good reason. You go into these places and you'll see that the other people, maybe not photographers, who have found these locations, they'll vandalize, they'll take things, they'll break things, they'll start fires, they do all kinds of crazy stuff.
And that's a good way to get them shut down too.
Great point. Kind of like rule of thumb, I treat it the way I do like a national park or anywhere outdoors that I'm at. Try to leave it how I found it.
Right.
I might occasionally, take like a rock and on the cement just write like my Instagram hashtag on the ground or something like that. Or if there's a place where there's a million stickers, I might pop one of my stickers up there or something. But other than that, I'm not like really going out of my way to spray paint or anything like that. But so knowing that these places might not be the easiest to get the inside scoop on, I recommend joining Flickr groups or Facebook groups. We'll get to know you, maybe let them see some of your other photography, and just start expressing an interest. And people will open up once they find out you're, one of the good guys or gals.
Right.
This is a great question from Steve. So is all this legal, or do you just chance it? I don't know. Okay, maybe we should have let off the show with a huge disclaimer saying everything we're talking about, you can do it at your own risk. We don't condone it, blah, 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 all that. So with that said.
So Fish Your Body's not posted.
Right. So.
I don't know, man.
We're like treading on gray area here. So.
Right. Can you catch a trespassing charge if it's not posted? No trespassing?
I would think yes. Your home doesn't have no trespassing on it. And if you left your front door open and someone came in, I would think you could be prosecuted. The difference, though, I think here is that a lot of these locations, if you're not doing something wrong, the likelihood of getting like more than a slap on the wrist, or and by a slap on the wrist, I mean the police saying, bad boy, bad girl, you shouldn't have done that. The likelihood of prosecution is slim.
Right.
Detroit,
you might get a ticket.
Yeah. There's always the possibility that you could get a ticket. Worst case scenario. Oftentimes, in my experience in Detroit, especially, is I've had a couple of instances where I'm either entering or exiting a building with all my gear and had the police pull up. And both times, the police, were basically like, so what's going on here? I explained to them, I'm a photographer. Here's one of my cards. This is what I do. I'm just documenting these places because I know hopefully at some point in time they're gone and something new replaces it. But this is a part of history. Right. And I like to capture it in an artistic way. And both times the police were like, go about your merry way. One time, this was at Southwest General Hospital in Detroit. Scrappers, people who come in and strip out the metals and things like that from buildings, had barricaded all the entrances to the hospital and put up like a huge gate that was made out of rebar, and they had their own lock on it. And there happened to be somebody used like a sawzall or something and cut an opening in a side window where they had plywood over it. That's where we were going in. And as I'm going in, I hear the radio, the little shoulder radio that they wear, chirp. And I know the sound, and I'm like, oh shit, and I turn around, I look, and there's a officer there. And just so people know, I'm one of those, I'm a Second Amendment guy. I carry a concealed weapon, especially if I'm in a dangerous, area like that. So I was carrying my pistol with me. So I hear the chirp. I turn to look over my shoulder, and there's a police officer there. And then as someone who has a concealed pistol license, you always announce to the officer that you're a CPL holder and you do have your weapon with you. And I announced that, and he says, where is it? And I said, it's on my right hip, just by keeping my hands, where you can see them. And he said, okay, thanks for telling me. He says, so what's going on? And I said, well, I'm a photographer, and I lifted my camera up off my neck. I said, I'm dying to get in here. I said, this building is crazy cool, and I think the photos that I make in here are going to be great. They're going to be fun. And he says, okay, yeah. Just so you know, once you disappear into that opening and I don't see you, you're on your own. He says, if you run into people in there that are already occupying that building, he says, I can't guarantee that somebody's going to be able to get in there and help you. He says, so I'm just telling you now. At which point I'm like, oh my God, where the hell are we going?
I'd have been like, okay, see ya, I'm out. Pew. Then when it kept on going.
So, but at that point, there was already a group of my people in there. And I'm like, all right, thank you. I appreciate that. I said, I think we're good. I said, we'll be in and out pretty quick, He says, all right.
Right.
We get up through the buildings or whatever. I actually see him parked in the back parking lot, just sitting, I don't know, waiting for a distress call or what, but he hung out there for a while, and it was all good. It worked out good. So I know that's a long answer, Steve, on what the legality of it is. It's a super gray area. Right. You're obviously not going to want to go into some place that looks like it's being renovated or restored.
I mean, we all know we're not supposed to be doing it.
Right. And, like Jerry said, Fisher Body didn't have a no trespassing sign posted.
There wasn't doors on the building. There was no doors.
Right. And you'll find that oftentimes. But so we went to St. Agnes Church, and we went to Lee Plaza Hotel, both places afterwards. Both place posted, both place very locked down. We could have honestly, we could have gone into those, but it was posted, so we didn't. So it's always at your own risk. Abandoned farmhouses, that's always kind of a tricky one too. I don't think you're going to run into the scrappers there so much as you might run into, Jim, Bob, and Earl down the road at the other farm wondering what y'all doing in there. I know I'm so stereotyping people in the South, and I'm going to get hate for this, but you know what I mean? People in rural areas tend to know one another, and they know the property, and they know if someone belongs there or not. Right. So again, it's always about being respectful. Put on a smile if somebody comes up to ask what you're doing. Show them your camera, show them maybe pictures on your phone or something, and just put them at ease a little bit.
The one by your house, remember the one we went to where you flew the drone? Yeah,
exactly. So
a lot of people rode past and watched us walking around in there. Nobody stopped and said a word.
I have had it happen there one time where somebody stopped and said, "What's going on?" Yeah. And I said, "I'm just taking pictures. I'd like to take pictures of these old farmhouses and old barns across the state." He's like, "Oh yeah." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Here, check it out." And I showed him. Oh wow, that's crazy. It's all right, cool. And then he just left. Right. So I think a lot of it is your attitude. How you present yourself if you are confronted. But honestly, Steve, there are a few places in Michigan that the locations where we Urbex are just like Jerry said. Fisher Body is kind of like well known internationally. I mean, people come from all over the world. Well, back when Urbex thing was huge and Detroit was really run down, people came from all over the world, especially Europe, to Urbex in these places. So Fisher Body is an easy just walk in kind of a shoot place. So.
Yeah. And you don't even necessarily need to go up any floors either. I mean, even the first floor is pretty cool.
Oh, for sure. And I'll tell you what. So when we jump into the photo share here, the first floor is where I did all my shooting. I did a model shoot the other week with a good friend of mine. and she had arranged the whole shoot. And I threw out there, hey, what if we do this shoot in Detroit? I know a cool place.
Right.
And that's where we went, was Fisher, and we just walked in. I'm not going to take a group of ladies someplace that is horribly dangerous. You know what I mean? So first floor was a piece of cake. Second floor, not bad, just a pain to get to. Third, fourth, floors, you get up there and you see a lot of spots where the floor is gone and you're looking down into the next floor. It gets a little sketchy. So do you want to talk about some things that we did to prepare for it, Jerry? Like gear that we brought, that we thought we might want to use, or things that you would recommend that people bring, maybe that we didn't on that trip.
Right. So, you know me, I pack light. One body, one lens. Even though I did use your wide angle.
Yeah.
Because mine wasn't wide enough. But, I mean, the obvious, man. You kind of want to wear long sleeve.
Yeah.
Possibly gloves. Because I've seen you pick up some nasty shit, dude, that I wouldn't touch. And, definitely probably. See, the one thing that happened to me before was, I wear Chucks all the time. And I felt a poke in my foot. And I looked down, and a nail went through my shoe. Luckily, I caught it before I put too much pressure on it and didn't push down on it. But, so I would say a good pair of shoes with thick soles. That way you're not stepping on nails or, jagged metal, stuff like that, and cut your feet up. That's pretty much it, man. I mean,
face mask might not be a bad idea. So
right.
We had Jerry's cousin with us, and he had a net gator, and he had that over his face a lot, which is probably wise, especially in factories. A lot of these were built in the 30s and 40s. Asbestos was king. It's the best insulator, and lead paint. Boy, nothing sticks like lead paint. So a mask probably isn't a bad idea either. So
remember when everybody was wearing those masks with the cartridges on the side?
Yes, they look cool as hell.
It did.
In pictures. Yeah. And they serve double purpose. You get one set of lungs. So take care of those. So we'll say boots or something with a thick sole. A headlamp for sure, gloves, pants, long sleeves, probably not a bad idea. I think we were all wearing hats that day. Hats probably not a bad idea either.
I guess it also depends on how hard you're gonna go. You know what I mean? If you're going there for a quick stroll, or you're gonna start climbing through stuff like we do, and
right. Yep. I mean, things we didn't bring. First aid kit. If you have a little. And by first aid kit, it doesn't have to be crazy fancy, but, a couple of alcohol swabs and a few Band-Aids probably isn't a horrible idea. Stuff you can stick in your bag or your pocket, Jerry travels super light. Dude blows me away. He's always got this, little tiny sling bag, and I don't even know what you can fit in it. You can't even fit a Subway sub in it, but somehow Jerry gets everything he needs.
Tripod, filters, everything, dude.
It's crazy. So, pack accordingly. And I guess we could talk about camera gear next, because you mentioned tripod and you mentioned the wide angle lens earlier. Those are two things I recommend. The situations often are dark, and depending on where you're shooting, it might be a confined space. So wide angle, really comes in handy for that for sure. What else would you recommend, Jerry? Like gear wise, like a
small tripod, nothing big and heavy.
Yeah, good call. So
because look how many times we had to exactly
tiny, literally tiny.
Look how many times we had to hand each other stuff so one of us could get over, and you know what I mean. And so the smaller, like that the Vanguard VO2.
Yeah, the little travel tripod.
Yeah, the one I left in your truck that I need to get back. That's perfect size, man.
For sure, definitely. Small is key. I went in kind of over. I always overpack for everything I do. I'm going to go to the grave with too much stuff.
Right.
And so I showed up with a big Vanguard backpack. I was able to make it through everything except for getting onto the roof. There was a door that had been sealed up with a steel plate, and someone cut the bottom out of it.
Right.
And I had to take my backpack off and slide it through to crawl under that.
Yep.
But so equipment wise, like Jerry said, small portable tripod, because you're probably going to do longer exposures or bracketed shots. I like to bracket in those situations because the dynamic range is just off the charts. And I don't care what you're shooting with. You could shoot with medium format, which has, loads of dynamic range. You're still not ever going to have enough in those situations most of the time for single exposure. So, being on a tripod helps.
Depending on the camera, shutter release cable.
Yeah, true. So shutter release cable, or if your camera has some sort of a Wi-Fi control like Olympus, use the OI Share app to control it.
Live time.
Yeah, live time would be a good one for sure.
Yeah.
Something, so keep this in mind too, folks. So if you're an Olympus user doing like bracketed shots, you can't just go into like, HDR or whatever and shoot bracketed shots. So I would suggest, going in and then just adjusting exposure compensation, just manually triggering all those. Mm-hmm. So, and just if anybody else has any questions, just keep them rolling in too, you guys. We'll be happy to just jump ship on whatever it is we're talking about to answer those. So we totally dig the questions coming in.
Right, sure.
As far as lens selection, like I said, I like something ultra wide. I also like something super fast, and I don't care how long that super fast lens is. I don't care if it's like the 17, 1.2, or if it's like a fast 85. I'll find that there are things in those locations where I want to completely separate it from the background. You'll have plants growing up or mushrooms growing up from cracks in the ground, or, you might see a doll's hand hanging from the ceiling. I don't know, whatever, you never know. But sometimes subject isolation is fun in those environments, for sure. So I just realized, Jerry, I just noticed on Facebook that you had sent me a bunch of pictures that I think you wanted me to download to share.
Yeah, we got to get mine set up so I can just...
Yeah, I'll let you open those up on your end and see if we can figure that out tonight. We'll do that live and just let everybody suffer through that. But so I'll just jump in and start my photo share. And if you want to queue those up like in Lightroom or something like that, we can do that. So I'll just do a quick screen share while you're getting the ball rolling on that. And then I'll just talk through what I'm sharing here. So let me get it full screen. There we go. Okay, so like Jerry mentioned, the week prior to him and I going there, I was there with my friend Shelly. She had arranged for like a cosplay photo shoot with a model that she knows. This was a Harley Quinn shoot. So if you're a DC Comics fan, you kind of know who Harley Quinn is. We started off in the Eastern Market area in Detroit. It's according to someone who I'll talk about here in an upcoming photo, we were told by this person that Eastern Market is actually the oldest running like farmers market in the country. It's been running continuously since, I don't even remember how old he said, but like early 1900s. And it's gone through rough periods or whatever, but it never stopped running. And it got a huge grant from, I don't know if it's the city of Detroit or if it was private donors, but it's a wonderful place to just go street shoot. And it's in a, it's Detroit, you got some rougher areas. So just bordering Eastern Market, there are all these crazy alleys. So that's kind of what we did. We sought out those alleys for these photos. So again, this is just, that model shoot that I did there, just on a random alley. And I'll just kind of roll through these. Excuse me. So playing around with a lot of depth of field play here, keeping my subject in focus, keeping things in the foreground, in frame so that they become out of focus. And then of course, the background tends to fall out of focus as well. And so this is the gentleman that told us about the history of Eastern Market because his father worked there, or his grandfather. I don't recall the story. He talked for a long time. So as we were walking from one location to another, we walked past a police cruiser, and it's funny. Shelly was saying, "Hey, we should ask him if he wants to get into the shoot." And I'm like, "No, we're not gonna stop and ask him to do that." And as we got next to his cruiser, he rolled down the window. He said, "Hey, come here for a second." And we walked over, and he says, "What are you guys up to?" And I thought, oh boy, she's walking around with a baseball bat, and looking all crazy. And we get to talking to him, and then he just gets out and he says, "Do you want me to handcuff her?" And it just went from there. He participated 100% in this shoot for about like 10 minutes or so. I wish I had some of Shelly's photos to share on this because she's got some like much better photos than I do of her sitting on the hood of the cruiser with the baseball bat across her lap, and ones with the cop is like, pointing his finger at her, like scolding her. It was a lot of fun. So humongous shout out to the Detroit Police Department for having very cool people. He was a lot of fun. He just played along with it so well. So again, that's just kind of what you're seeing here in this shot is Harley Quinn getting busted by the cops. So the next few photos will be shared. They're from inside the Fisher Body plant. So Fisher Body 21, if you want to Google it, is the location. This is on the ground floor again, because I had the ladies with me and I wasn't sure exactly how to get to the upper floors at this point, having not been there in a couple of years. And so the smoke that you see in the background is I brought smoke bombs with me. I highly recommend getting good smoke bombs. There's a company called Enola Gay. They make astounding smoke bombs. They're expensive, but they're well worth it because they produce a tremendous amount of like very vibrant smoke. And I saw the light on the floor where she's standing from the distance, and I realized, well, there's a very directional point of light coming in, and I knew that if I popped smoke somewhere over in that area, that I should be able to get some good, smoke play from that coming in the window. So I threw a yellow smoke over there, and that's kind of exactly what I did there. And again, same thing, I just found another spot where light was coming in, kind of wanted to silhouette her a little bit more and rim light her with the light coming in from the window behind her. Threw a purple smoke back there and just played around with it. And this is where having a model that is either really into what you're doing or is really experienced comes in handy, because I had to direct her none. She did everything pretty much on her own. She was constantly changing looks, changing faces, changing poses, changing the direction that she was facing. That makes a humongous difference. And Jerry knows all about.
Makes your job easy.
For sure. You can concentrate more on just doing what you do, which is, creating the images. They kind of feed off of, the vibe that, you're giving out as far as the look you want. And just, it made it so much fun. So that was the last one of that. And while you still queuing up photos, Jerry?
I'm ready.
Oh, and FYI, everybody, the Shelly that I keep referring to is in the chat room. So give her a big shout out.
Hi, Shelly.
She set this whole shoot up, so it's pretty dope. So I'll just continue on through the rest of my shots while you're queuing your stuff up, bud. So again, this is Fisher Body 21 here that we're going through. And this is on the second floor. So once you get up onto the second floor, every floor in that place, just like most of the places that, you would visit, every single room, every single floor, every single section has a whole different feel to it. Light comes in different. Everything just feels different. And that was the experience here. So this is the second floor, and outside of the window to the left, actually not a window, that's an elevator shaft. The elevator shaft in that building, one of the elevator shafts, has completely collapsed due to a fire. So the light was really crazy coming in through there. So what you're kind of getting here, a sense of is the depth of this place. It's very big, very long. And I kind of like, and I don't know if you can see my cursor wiggling around on the screen here, but on the left of that big opening, you can see an old outline drawing of an old style car. So Fisher Body 21 has been around for a long time, folks. It's been around since the early days of automobiles. Next shot. This is just one of the bathrooms that were there. There's not anything in here anymore. That would have been a row of toilets, but just loving the way the light is coming in. Again, these places are super dark, so I kind of try to seek out where the light is coming in and, use that to my advantage. Show the texture. So on the wall on the right, decades of paint over the top of paint over the top of paint. When that paint peels, it's raised up inches off of the wall. So wanted to get all that texture. So again, seeking out the light for that. Another example of you never know what you're going to find. So this doorway, if you walk up the stairs and through the doorway, you're going to fall probably about 30 feet down into chaos of twisted metal and cement. Again, it's one of these sections again where the side of the building had completely collapsed. So safety is something that is paramount when you're doing this type of work. Always be paying attention to what the floor looks like underneath you. And if you're going up to the next floor while you're on the floor below it. Look at the ceiling and see what the condition of it looks like. You know,
Right.
if it looks bad, you're not going to want to be in that spot when you're up on the next floor. This is Jerry. So again, wanted to show
With my little backpack.
Exactly. So Jerry's trying to tell you guys that he has his entire life's worth of photography stuff that he needs for this adventure in that bag. And I'm going to say he did, except for a wide angle lens. So it just shows you, you can pack light and still be totally successful at these kind of shoots. And I shot this. I posed Jerry for this. I told him, I said, hey, start walking that way. I just wanted to show the scale of this place. So this is just one of the floors. This is probably, I think, the third floor or the fourth floor. I don't remember, but it was a couple floors up. Every floor as big as this. It's several football fields long.
Yep.
Again, Jerry going down the stairs. Plenty of light here because this was going from the roof downwards. So lots of light here. You get a couple of floors down and it is completely pitch black. And Jerry and I were just talking about this shot earlier. So if you're from Michigan or around the area, Fago. Fago's the pop, made in Detroit, born and bred there. And Jerry had a Fago with him, and he's like, hey, get a shot of me with this Fago. So I just had him stick it out towards the camera. And I don't even remember what lens I had on there. I don't know if it was that 14 millimeter 2.8. I think it was like a really wide lens, and just had to pop that off. And I'll just say this much before I end these photos. When you're with a group of people doing something like this, take pictures of each other. Right. It's a lot of fun. I don't know. It's just a lot of fun. That's all I got to say.
All right. How come my camera ain't working?
So Jerry is back on the first floor of Fisher Body, and it is pitch black. There he is.
Technical difficulties.
All right. So all you have to do, Jerry, is just go to the screen share and share wherever you've got your photos set up. And I'm going to eat olives.
All right. Here we go. Hold on. Let me. Can you see them?
Yep. Let me add it to the stream here. There we go.
Look better like that or like this?
Like this? Full screen. Full screen.
All right. There we go. So this is along the lines of where you said you look for light. So I saw the light coming through that doorway with all that bright color back there. As soon as we hit off the stairway and I looked down the hallway, and I was like, I got to get a picture of that. So we get down there and position myself so I could get all three doors, or the two doors on the left and then the main hallway door down there, and just exposed it so you can capture the light coming through. Makes for a cool photo. Then we got the blue windows.
All right, let me jump in and say something really quick about that first photo. That kind of gives you a sense of how dark it is in there. So again, a lot of my shots bracketed, and so you can kind of see everything. Right. Jerry's kind of showing you how that floor was with your eyes.
Right. I'm shooting moody, man. Moody. All right. Then same thing here. Was this third floor?
Yes, third floor, blue walls.
And then the whole side of this building had blue windows on it, and it just looked really cool with the light coming through. So I took a wide shot of this, and just to show the scale of the room with the blue windows in there. I thought it looked pretty cool. You see everything dripping down from the ceiling.
Yeah, we had a conversation about that. Stalactites or stalagmites, which is which?
Right. Shoot, I have no idea.
It was a geology lesson.
And we have, this is the first floor, I believe. This is the first picture I took when we walked in.
Nice. Hey, so hold on. Don't go any further. Talk about this for a second, because the average person is not going to be able to make this shot unless they know exactly what you did here. So do you want to talk about how you pulled that off?
You talk about in Lightroom?
Mm-hmm.
Or all together. So what I did was
beginning to end.
I exposed for the outside pretty much.
Okay.
Just so I knew I could, because it was the clouds were a lot brighter. Mm-hmm. So I made sure I could save that detail in the clouds. So I exposed for that, and then I just brought everything back in Lightroom.
Nice. So not bracketed. Single exposure. Exposed
single
for the outdoors.
Single shot, yeah. And then, it's got a little radial filter in there to to pull the center of the photo out inside.
Mm-hmm.
But
And that was shot with the A7R
A7R2
2.
and 14 mil,
Okay.
14 millimeter.
So lots of dynamic range off of that in order to pull those shadows out and keep it looking good.
For sure. This is, what was this? Was this a hallway? This is going up to.
So that led into this weird room up on the roof.
That's right. That's right. This is up on the roof. Yeah. So this is one of the little buildings on the roof. And I have no idea where this goes to. What do you think was in there? Maybe some boilers in the next room down below?
Yeah, it's a mechanical room.
Right. And then there was just some cool graffiti in there with the light coming through. So I had my nephew jump off the stairs. So it took me about 3 shots to get him in the middle of the window. And I thought that turned out pretty cool. Once again, single shot exposing for pretty much ambient light in the room. And then just bringing everything back.
Yeah, keep talking about exactly how the post-production works on these. So Albert is kind of new here and just kind of stumbled across this. And he's asking if there's any kind of post-production on these, so just kind of go over, what your process is like.
All right. So basically, like I said, I'm exposing for the outside to make sure I save that. And then I'm pulling shadows to bring back the inside. I paint in highlights. So if you notice to the left where it's really bright, and then the right side where it's a little brighter than the rest, that was there. That was the sun coming through. I just enhanced it a little bit using the adjustment brush.
Nice.
And then I just did a radial filter and kind of dulled down everything around the middle. That way your eyes go to the center of the photo.
So everything so far has been 100% done in Lightroom at this point.
Yep. Yeah. This never left Lightroom.
Nice.
Other than I didn't put it in Photoshop or anything else.
Nice.
And then we got here's a picture of you.
Whoop whoop.
This is the washroom, and we didn't tell anybody this yet, but Jamie threw a smoke grenade back there, and once it started dying out, then it caused really cool smoke in the atmosphere, and we took our turn in there and walked around and took pictures of each other moving around in there.
Yeah, we spent time making profile photos.
Right, pretty much, yeah. The room looks really cool with the like you said before, with the paint coming off the wall and one of the wash tubs being tipped over, and it was a cool room.
Yeah, definitely.
And then this is the actual building itself.
All right, I'm glad you shot that.
Yep. So, what is it? 6 stories total, and
yeah,
it's a big building. Definitely a big building.
Yeah.
And you can walk right in there. I mean,
yeah. The only thing that was posted there were along the street, running along, the 3 sides of the building. It just said no parking. Right. That was it.
And that was only on Saturday and Sundays, right?
Yeah, just on the weekend. So they know what's going on. They know what people are doing there. Right. So we just pulled half a block ahead of the signs and just parked there.
Right. Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
So this is down the street and around the corner. I wanted to spend more time here, but it started to rain. But there's a whole block of houses like this, and this looks so cool. That they're so run down that the earth is taking the land back. I think this is really cool, man.
Yeah, it's a crazy row of homes, and it's looked crazy for like the last 5 years. It gets worse every year, obviously, but I've never shot it, so I was excited to see what you made from it.
Right. Yeah, it was fun, man, for sure.
Do you have that street photo?
Yep, I think I got that one next. Yep.
All right, good.
So I was going to go in, but as you can see, there's really nothing to go into. It's pretty much just the front of the houses is left.
Yeah.
There's really no rooms inside of them. It looks like one of those movie sets, you know what I mean, where it's a fake house or a fake neighborhood. That's what it looks like. I mean, the back of the houses are all rotted off, and
It's the
so
fake neighborhood from The Walking Dead. It's
right.
insane.
Right.
Jerry got an incredible street portrait. I don't know if it's in his queue or not, but is it in this?
No, the one of the guy walking past.
Yeah. So there's this kid
No.
walking by, and he's got a neon pink backpack and neon pink sneakers, and it is such a crazy contrast between
Right.
him and those homes. I mean, he's, you know, super fresh looking, you know, and sharp and clean and bright.
Right.
And this is everything that is not that.
Yep. Yep.
So, you know, again, kind of one of those cool things, you know, where you're just prepared for the moment. You know, I know Jerry saw him coming down the street because I was sitting in my truck and dropped Jerry off to run out and take these shots. And I see this kid walking up, and I'm watching, and I'm watching and waiting, and I'm just watching. And they're getting closer and closer. I'm like, yes, he's going to do this. He's going to do this. And sure enough, I see Jerry just wait, times it. This kid's in the right spot. The kid looks at Jerry, and then he turns and looks at the houses. Boom. And that's the shot. I'm like, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah. I saw him coming. I knew he was going to walk past. So I was hoping he was going to be on the sidewalk, but
yeah. Still, though, in the street, I think in the street is even better. You know, I mean, it's almost like he's stepping away from that stuff because it's so crazy.
Right.
But, you know, it's a super cool moment to watch, you know,
Yeah.
a photo happen. So, so let's talk a little bit about, because Albert was talking about, you know, what kind of processing, things like that go into this. I'll say what I'm doing a lot of bracketing. So I was there with the Sony A7 III. The dynamic range on that is just through the roof. I could probably do single shot exposures, but I still bracketed anyways, probably about half of the time. The other half of the time, I just let that baby roll on auto ISO and exposed, you know, however I felt, you know, appropriate for the scene. And then in Lightroom, you know, it's similar to what you do. Radial filters are fun. If you're not using radial filters to
adjustment brushes, yeah.
Yep, radial filters and adjustment brushes, just to accentuate the key parts of your image that you want focus drawn to.
Yep.
Start playing around with that. Start experimenting with it. I find that I use it on a lot of photos, things that a year ago I probably wouldn't have, you know, and I'm starting to gravitate towards it more and help create mood. And
I use it on almost everything I shoot. Landscapes, portraits, everything, dude.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great tool. For me, I don't think anything hardly ever goes outside of Lightroom the majority of the time.
I do, my portraits do. Everything else really don't. Unless there's really something I need to remove, like a telephone pole or people or...
Yeah, for sure.
I put my portraits in there to remove blemishes and skin retouching and stuff like that. But other than that, yeah, I do everything in Lightroom, man. Everything's usually one single image. Play with them sliders, man. You know, I got a lot of my own special sauce, so...
Yeah, I'll say that about portraits that I shot too as well. So I've spent a lot of time in On1 for portraits. It's just kind of the one that I like to work in.
Right.
I'm not... Jerry does a lot of like... I don't know the term for it or the style or the genre, but it just has like a very like high fashion look to it. And I know Jerry does a lot of frequency separation and things like that. It's more advanced editing on portraits. I'll admit I keep it like basic. You know,
that's where I'm going to, man. I'm starting to lean towards that more.
Getting back towards that more natural.
Yeah, things. When I get that GR3.
Yep. So Jerry just teased something that'll probably get talked about here in the near future. Expect that moving forward. I know that the discussion historically has always been like almost 100% Olympus. But with a title like Mirrorless Minutes, it makes sense to talk about more than just that. Like in the last 6 months or so, I've spoken more about, you know, using Sony products, you know, having learned that system, gaining now experience with the Nikon Z system. So I'll be able to talk more about that. Jerry's talking about the Ricoh GR3.
I just need that to put in my pocket. That's all I need, man.
Yeah. So expect that moving forward, folks. Just to hear more about other systems as well. Obviously, my primary system is Olympus, so always that will be kind of like the thing.
For sure.
But moving forward, you know, if you've got questions about other systems, ask them on here. And maybe we will have experience with those. And if we don't, maybe we will find a way to get experience in those to help answer some of those for you guys.
I mean, we know a lot of people that shoot a lot of different stuff, man. So
we know, yes.
At least I do. I know a lot of
yeah,
a lot of photographers, man.
Yep, for sure. So I guess with that, we can wrap up tonight's show. I just want to thank everybody for stopping in. Thank Albert for dropping in, stumbling upon it. If you could, Albert, if you're still watching in the chat, just throw a mention in here on how you heard about tonight's show. Just kind of curious, because however you found out, I want to make sure we're leveraging that area of exposure a little bit more to get more people that are new in.
We're gonna start advertising a lot more too coming up.
Yeah. Things are changing. So again, we'll talk to you guys in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from now, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, just like always, we'll have a new subject, and it's going to be the same two faces.
All right.
All right. So you guys take care. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you.